edge, and we've designed that so that you then, as you approach the townhouse, we have a few steps up. When you're outside, you get into the front door, and then there's a few more steps up to get to the main room, so that it doesn't feel like you're walking into a foyer and then a big set of steps to negotiate. So. And then the other things that we wanted to do, just to talk about while I have this slide, and it was brought up at the last time. Each of these townhouses and the commercial building will be solar ready, and what that means is we will have conduits that will go from the electrical panel up to an appropriate spot on the roof, and through careful design of the lighting layout in the panel, we will be able to then very easily add the sub-panel that's required if you do decide to add solar panels, because that then involves a battery, and it involves sort of storage and a certain amount of rejigging of the wiring, generally for lighting, and that's something that we can then build in kind of as a prerequisite, if you will, for the time when the solar becomes a sort of a much more viable option. We have 4 units in the development that are going to be elevator capable. We won't be putting the elevators in, but we will be providing the shafts. We will be providing conduit and power and the necessary depressions in the ground in the basement level for these residential elevators. So there will be 2 of them in building 2 and 2 in building 6. So building 2 is on Dieppe, and building 6 is one of the center buildings here. And then the other question was about outdoor lighting, and of course there's a lot of sensitivity about outdoor lighting. We did talk about this last time because of the observatory and sort of light escaping into the atmosphere. So we will be using a combination of bollards and lower lamp standards with down lighting and baffled lighting, which will also then work, eliminate any kind of glare for the neighboring residences. The commercial building, just to very quickly finish on this, I'm only just going to speak again to the design of the building from the perspective of its kind of noise mitigation and neighbor friendliness, because I think we've talked about the building enough the last time around. So when we look at the sign of the building, and I'm just going to quickly run around it, you can see that the roof level is effectively, although it doesn't really sort of show clearly here, but this roof is flat all the way through here. There's a little pop up here, and it's flat here. When we look at the other side, it's the same. This is a screen that surrounds the one piece of mechanical equipment that rises above this roof. But what we didn't talk about was that over a good portion of this building, this roof is actually lower on the inside, and that's where all of our mechanical equipment has been located, so that we purposefully designed the building so that we wouldn't have to look at any of that equipment. And of course, none of the compressors are going to be on the roof because, and I'm going to just look at the side of the building here. The compressors are all located in I think I might have to go back to this one. They are here. So there is a space in the building right here. And this is where all the garbage is. This is where this wall that Scott talked about. So this is kind of this noise mitigation wall. This is where the garbage gets. There's a big kind of sorting area in there at various different levels. But in the mezzanine, because we've got a high space there, that's where all of these compressors are going to sit. So these will all be internal to the building there. And then finally, just to talk about the trucks, and we talked about the shape of the building. Again, here in this section, we can see how the building projects forward. This is this view Ian talked about where the trucks back in. This faces out towards the highway, so that all of the activity for the trucks has basically been is sort of blinkered and open to the highway. And here we can see in plan how that works, where the trucks are well back inside the building. This is this area where we talked about where the compressors are and where all the sorting happens. And so through the orientation of the building and these shielding and grading concerns, we have been able to mitigate, pretty much most of the sound aspects of the building. One last thing to just point out, this was, Ian talked about the semi-trailers not being able to approach the building. This has been carefully sort of designed by our traffic consultants so that a semi-trailer cannot enter the site this way. The only way a semi-trailer can get in is to come down Douglas, in front of the building, pull into this area and back into the loading zone. And then to get out, it can make this turn, but it cannot make this would be a turn that is going to be too tight for it to make, and it cannot then back into these loading bays. So that's kind of one way that we kind of mitigate the semi-trailer. So that's the last of our presentation. If you have any questions, the three of us would be happy to answer any of your questions. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. That was very thorough. There's a question that's coming from Councillor Murdoch right away. Councillor Murdoch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the proponent. One of the things I didn't catch the last time you were here was the discussion about the elevators, and your comments tonight left me a little bit perplexed. You're basically making the building structurally capable of having an elevator. You're putting in everything but the elevator.
Well, yeah, that's right. Because in the first instance, there's no guarantee that the person, if there's an elevator in there, then the person necessarily wants the elevator. The elevator is a cost. It's probably, I'm going to guess by the time we prep it, it would probably be $20,000–$25,000 to put the actual residential lift in. So it's a cost thing. It's certainly something that if someone wants it when they purchase it, can certainly be installed easily. But there's no guarantee that the person buying it necessarily wants it, and it's easy enough, and we've done this in many private residential projects where you actually just put a false floor in there at first, and it becomes, you get three very nice closets, storage rooms, which you can use until you want the elevator, and that's what happens often in these private residences, so that you don't spend the money up front, but in 15 years when you don't want to move out. So it really allows for aging in place more than it is, because these are really kind of family oriented, where you wouldn't really expect requirement for an elevator.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I hadn't really considered that you could take advantage of that space for any purpose other than an elevator. I mean, when you imagine an elevator shaft, it's hard to think of it as anything but. Yeah,
it's very easy to because there's already the door there.
Right.
So you just put in a false floor, which can be very easily removed without any kind of structural implications.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Plant, quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, I believe it was Mr. Fatt, during your part of the presentation, you referenced animal waste, and I'm just trying to understand which animal waste you'd be referring to. I thought it was primarily a produce facility.
It is a produce facility, but all the peelings, all the pieces that come off celery, all the lettuce trimmings, all our leftovers is recycled into animal waste. So a beef farmer takes all that and uses it for animal feed.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Councillor Moreland.
Thank you. Which phase will be developed first? Housing or the plant?
No, the plant has to go first, and the reason for that is that we've got property lines going through the existing buildings, and we cannot demolish the buildings until the new building is built, because the plant has to maintain operations through the new construction, and because we can't put that property line in until those buildings are gone, so it definitely has to be just through kind of the legal transfer and subdivisions. It remains one lot while the commercial building is built. The subdivision could go in for the Bearland Strata, but the plan is to build. I mean, Ian really needs the building. I mean, the building he's in is already very, very tired. He's already kind of out on edge with the the authorities, and so he really needs the building first. So
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I'd like to invite members of the public up to speak to this application. Please come forward. You give us your name and your address.
I live at 4287 Dieppe Road. I'd like to speak on the whole project itself, right? I'm the true person that lives in the area that's all to be affected. There's a big problem in the area with pedestrian traffic, and Dieppe Road, going to Douglas Street, is a bike route. I count on an average day 200 bike traffics there and back every day. There's no bike lane there. There's a lot of residents parking beside the street. There's no sidewalk there. There's open drainage ditches on 3 properties at the present time. Pedestrians use that a lot, not only for walking the bog or jogging, but the only place to get off a bus with a controlled intersection is Chatterton and Quadra. You use that to go on the DF to filter in the neighborhood. Also, the employees of Islands West use that to go to work, all the way down DF. And you mix that with bikes and pedestrians, and there's nothing there that's been planned there. The only thing we planned there was a bike route with the emblems on the road. So the proposal by the developer to put a sidewalk on 5 houses on DF and part of Kane is a sidewalk to nowhere. Also leads up to another intersection of Kincaid and Kane, or Con, we call it. The busiest part of pedestrian and bicycle traffic is on DF from Con to Quadra Street. For various reasons, going to the shopping center, or going to the bog, joggers, bikes go there to work. And there's a lot of groups of recreational bike users that use it like all the time. It's safer than going on the highway, I guess, but it's very busy, and there's no proposal of bike path there at all. You're going to mix cars with commercial vehicles, with pedestrians. It's a red mess at the present time. Much less you can put another 150 people in a subdivision there. They're going to use the same thing all over again. So the developer proposes nothing to do to correct that problem at all. Nothing at all. A sidewalk and over, that's all he proposed in front of 5 houses. Also, there's a problem with semi-trailers coming down the pond. I know some neighbors say there's 1 or 2 a day. I say maybe 4 or 5 a week. And they turn onto Kane onto Dieppe Road, which is a real tight turn. So my neighbor, he's an Italian guy, didn't come and speak, but he told me to ask you, when the semi-trailer turns, it goes over his front lawn and creates ruts in it. He gave up putting flowers in there because he has to repair it every week. Now with the changes of the development, they want to make a swing corner where Dieppe goes on Douglas Street. The only reason they want to do that, they say it's for safety, but they can put semi-trailers around that corner without jackknife. And they jackknife now, they try to go around that corner because at the present time, the deliveries for receiving are all off Dieppe. The new plant comes in, it'll be all off Douglas Street. They tell us, as you heard tonight, they won't be able to do that way, but why change a corner? They don't change a corner, they won't be able to go, they all have to come down Douglas Street, they have no choice. And you heard Mr. Fatt saying they kind of regulate it by slowly unloading trailers, but no, they want produce, they want the fruit, that they'll load the trailers as quick as they can. They're going to use Kane for semi-trailers coming down Resident Street all the time. They're 45 feet long. Also, they have 20 feet or 22,000 pound, 20,000 pound delivery trucks or tandem from Van Hole produce out of Vancouver and Freshcut comes down there all the time. Use the same route. So the commercial traffic down there is pretty trouble at the present time. So, and it's right now the neighborhood is not really planned at all for pedestrian traffic, bike traffic, and even commercial vehicles. We're going to add all this to the area with new subdivision and new plan. And once those trucks hit diesel trucks hit the road, there's no sound barriers. It's the street they got, and then people on Douglas Street or Kane get that all the time. In the plan, maybe so, they're trying to design it, don't hit the street, sound everywhere. And then, as you heard, one of the landscape architects trying to fit the process pipe into the neighborhood. That's just keep trying to fit. It's really not a good fit. Anything else want to ask questions for the neighborhood, or anything else want to talk about? Or sidewalk, no sidewalks neighborhood at all right now. It's dodging the traffic with pedestrians or crossing bicycles. Someone's going to get hurt one day bad. The whole way it is now. And there's no proposal for anything else on there but a sidewalk and over in front of front house. Amenities. It's a $25 million project, the way I figured it out, as it's built out, with $150,000 amenities, with a sidewalk in front of 5 houses. And he told me, here's Mr. Fatt saying, well, we don't want to put anything on Dieppe going to Quadra Street. It's not important. That's where the major traffic is, and that's where employees use that right now. They go to work. So I'll let the council think about that and see what they think, but it's not really well planned until it comes up at the present time. Even Saanich hasn't done a lot of planning in the area. Been all ad hoc, because they put a secondary bike route there, and they put animals on the street. Where those bike guys right in the middle of the street, that's all you got to go. No bike lane at all, at the present time. And nothing in the future.
Okay,
There you go, thank you.
thank you for your comments. Are there any of the members of the public wish to speak? Please come forward. Is that a watch?
5 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors, and staff members. My name is Haji Charania. I reside at 757 Genevieve Road. This evening I'm speaking as an individual. I still remain very disappointed with this proposal, Council, and the planner's report as well. I have summarized my following concerns briefly in my email to Council on August the 5th. They are: lack of right-of-way for bicycle lanes. Number 2, too many height and sighting variances giving rise to twice the permitted density as per the local area plan. The local area plan calls for 10 units per hectare. This is almost 20 and 21. And the third, most importantly, grossly inadequate public amenity. Please note, 158,000 is 0.6% of the estimated value of the total development. This evening I want to elaborate to demonstrate how inadequate public amenity is for rather this substantial development. And I want to stand here to commend the previous councils, the work they have done in the past. Let us go back to about 30 years. Mr. Bernard Dong subdivided his land at the south end of Cameo Street. Some 20 to 24 lots were created. Saanich received 15% of the land, which today is Bernard Park. Number 2, SIDC land on the south side of Christmas Hill developed in mid-1990 and onwards. Saanich received over 2 acres of Gary Oak Meadows behind Rogers School, plus 3 to 6 meter right-of-way for trails along the west side of Rainbow and along the northern perimeter of the land. Hutchison land was developed again in late 1990s and early 2000. Saanich received 12% of the environmentally sensitive land, plus Saanich bought 2 lots along Rogers Avenue. Saanich was also able to get heritage designation on Dorothy and Bruce Hutchison's house. Today it is a Hutchison Park, and it provides walking trail between Christmas Hill and the Beckwith Park. In late 1997, there was a townhouse development proposal for 4045 Rainbow. Councillor Life-Reckland should know that, or should remember that. The developer, Mayo Development, and the architect Eric Barker proposed, I believe, 8 to 10 townhomes. That development offered 20% of the land on the northeast corner for Christmas Hill. The proposal died as a result of market condition, and the land was purchased by the developer of the Rainbow Hill development. Rainbow Hill development proposal in 2007, Saanich was able to get over 15% of park dedication, plus 370 square meters, which is 4,000 square feet of right-of-way along Mackenzie, plus 430,000 for future park acquisition. The developer of the recently built 2 condos across Monkey Tree Pub provided off-site amenity of over 4 blocks of concrete sidewalks, estimated to cost $250,000. Plus he offered unit per unit affordable housing fund. I know in many other areas the previous Saanich councils have protected natural environment and or sought land and substantial public amenity for the land from the land developers and the subdividers. In fact, Municipal Act had a provision of 5% land dedication for park. While introducing the new Local Government Act, the province had said, and I quote, "With the new act, developers will no longer be exempted from the requirement to dedicate 5% of the land being subdivided as parkland." And I think the planning director would be interested in this piece of paper. Therefore, in conclusion, Mr. Mayor and council members, I believe you have an obligation to seek substantially more public amenity, land dedication, and the bicycle lane. Given the progressive approach of the previous Saanich councils, if you accept this proposal as it is at this stage, regrettably I will see your decision as aggressive, short-sighted, and frankly irresponsible. Should this land be developed? Yes, no doubt about that. But this proposal needs more work and improvement. Please do the right thing. I urge you not to accept the planner's recommendations and send the proposal back to the drawing board. Thank you. And I'm within my time, Mr. Mayor, I think.
Yes, it's about right. It's about 4. Thank you, Haji. Councilor Burnham, you have your hand up during this public input period.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Sherania. During the previous committee of the whole where this was discussed, one of the things we suggested was that the applicant have a discussion with the community about amenity contributions. And I wondered in the time since the last committee of the whole if you've had an opportunity to have that conversation.
Yeah, 1 hour meeting with Mr. Infat, was more rhetoric than anything concrete proposed to me. I was really disappointed with that meeting. There was nothing which I can really say, yeah, there is a genuine effort. I'm looking for 3 to 5% public amenity on a $25 million project. And when I compare to all the other development in this area, this is 158,000 is nothing. If you accept this will be very short-sighted. And frankly, in my view, very regressive and irresponsible.
Thank you.
Councilor Workman.
Thank you very much. Just a question to you and to your community. Do you feel that amenities should be standardized across the line so a developer knows when he comes what his expectations are?
Yeah, there should be some base number in your mind as to what is private amenity and what is the public amenity, yeah. And I've given you the example of Bernard Park and I've given you the example of Rainbow Hill development. Yeah, but I think that's up to you to make that decision. 0.6%, is it adequate? I'm not sure. That's you have to decide. I think it's inadequate.
Okay, it came forward about 4 or 5 years ago when I was on council here, and there was no support to standardize it at that time. So I'd encourage your support on it. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to repeat myself because I'm out of time, but it seems to me that the previous council had much better vision for what the community should look like. All this, what you heard tonight, is basically all the private amenities.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Haji. Are there any other members of the public wish to speak? Please come forward.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Councillors, staff, Kevin Croft, 1044 Inverness Road. I just looking quickly through this, and again, we come back to sustainability. Sustainability is huge. It's not just green buildings, etc., etc. Sustainability in the region is when we look at the overall aspect of the whole region. Food production, number of people on the land, it's land capacity. You can only put so many people on the land and still stay sustainable with your food production. And as you know, we only produce 2% of the food for the people in this region. So I'm really struggling to see how and where the logic is to continue pumping more and more people here at this point in time when we cannot produce the food for the people. And climate change is really kicking butt. Across Canada, drought, Southern California, drought. Even on this island right now, drought is hurting our farmers. Their crops are not growing as they normally would because of drought. And if everybody thinks, oh, this is only going to happen this year, what happens in the next 5 years when it's continuing to do what it's doing? And you cannot continue to keep bringing food here from all over the rest of this world and say you're sustainable. There's a huge carbon footprint to bring food to this island. The importance of sustainability for future generations is to create now a direction of being able to allow them to live here peacefully and with the food they need and the water. And right now we're lucky with the water we have. But again, if we go through a winter, this winter with no rains, even though they're predicting rains, but again, you've got to think the big picture these days. You cannot continue to do what we've been doing since the 1960s. Growth, 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 because it's the almighty dollar that's driving it. You've got to look at the big picture of sustainability, and sustainability is food production, making sure you have enough food for the people on the land capacity. You don't overexceed it, because if you do, you're going to get to a point you're in serious trouble. And then what are you going to do? How are you going to answer to the public when there's not enough food for people to eat? You've got to consider this in your judgments today in land use. You just can't keep loading the land with more and more people. Even this is car-oriented. Look at the development. Garages, garages, garages. It's cars, which is more carbon dioxide going up, more greenhouse gases. You got to start looking at the big picture, please. Not just thought of what we did in the 60s. Even your local area plans are so far out of date, they're non-realistic in today's world and where we're headed. So please, consider that when you're making your judgments. We have one chance for those in the future. If we ruin it now, or if we start going in such a bad direction, is that they're the ones that are going to suffer, not us today. So please, consider that.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Please come forward. On this application, calling for a second time. Any other members of the public who wish to speak? Calling for a third time. Okay, we'll close the public input period. Can I call the applicant back up to the microphone to answer a few questions?
Which one?
Mr. Fat, yourself. Thanks. There are a number of questions from the speakers about sidewalks, sound abatement, bicycle routes. Could you speak to that in that area?
I'll start with the bicycle route. There is a bicycle route that is planned by Saanich down, but there is not one, it's not continuous, and even if we made bike allowance in front of our property, it would not be a continuous bike route. It would stop, start, stop, and start. So when we talked to the traffic engineer, in his report, you'll read that he said this is not the safest system to have it, so it stops, starts, stops, starts. If it could be made a continuous one, then that's different than what we're addressing on this project. Your other points were, sorry?
I'll read them off to you again. So you covered bicycle, there was sidewalks, and there was a question about sound abatement.
The sidewalks, the sidewalk right now is going to be all of the frontage of this development. Plus the amenity part will take it from the edge of the property on Dieppe Road, up Dieppe to Con. It'll go across Con and partway up the hill to Quadra Street. It was the suggestion of engineering that they might continue that sidewalk on and finish it. The sidewalk was going to go as far as our $90,000 amenity package was going to take it. And as far as the sound attenuation, are you talking, was it in relationship to around the building?
I think it was just in the area from the traffic, if I recall.
I don't have too much of a comment unless that's more specific.
How many trucks are going into your facility on a daily basis?
We have 10, 12 trucks. We have 13 trucks of our own that run, and there's 2 trailer trucks.
About 4 a week.
There was about 4 a week. of trailer trucks that come from various locations. And there's some smaller tandem trucks that would come from the mainland, which would be possibly 2 a day from, which was mentioned, Van Ho and Fresh Direct Orders. We have not received any complaints that I can remember in regards to sound from our operations right now. And with a question, we are going to improve that going forward.
Thank you. Have there been any concerns from the neighbors about the backup alarms from those trucks?
The only comment I've heard in this whole thing is from Stan Brigadier. He brought it up at an original meeting, but since then I have heard nothing about that.
Do you expect there will be any, the potential for the complaints related to those alarms with the developments proposed behind the facility?
I don't see any change to the way we're operating right now. Okay, I see it as being better than what we're operating right now.
Okay. All right, thank you. This question from Councillor Haynes.
If I may, through the Mayor. Mr. Fatt, a couple of quick questions, please. The total value has been put at 25 million. If you were to separate out the commercial unit from the housing, are you able to give us numbers to say the housing would be approximately this much and the commercial